So I grew up in Dallas, Texas. It's really a suburb of Dallas called Carrollton, 20 minutes north of Dallas. And I tell people, if you don't know anything else about Texas, then you need to know the three F's, because this is what Texas stands on, which is football, family, and faith. So I was introduced very quickly to all three things. I grew up with just me and my mom. So not having like the big family unit was very different in Texas. Also, Texas being one of the last um, states in the US to abolish slavery, there is still also lots of segregation and racism and things that I encountered as a young Black man in the state. Faith, Texas is a part of what we call the Bible Belt. So Christianity is very prominent there. My family was not super Christian. My mom was not super Christian. So that was also made me a bit of an outlier. And then we have football, where football is literally eat, sleep, and breathe in Texas. People watch the games all Sunday after they go to church, and they talk about it all Monday, and they prepare for the next games all week. So football was the one thing where I could fit in, where I could do it, where my body was built for it. I was taller than all the other kids. I was fast. I was strong. I was athletically gifted. Very young, when a coach first approached me, he was like, "Hey, do you play sports? Because you should. This is something you were made to do." And it just being me and my mom, I worked a lot as a kid. Any job I could get, anything I could do to help pay bills or help put food on the table or do anything to make my mother's job as a single parent easier, I did. So it wasn't until later on in high school, my mom got a good opportunity where I could pursue football. I believe I played 1 year of high school, a full season of high school football. And I fell in love instantly. I was good at it. I was built for it. And I loved kind of the family unit that it brought. I love having a locker room full of brothers, being especially a single child. And I loved kind of the structure. I loved having male mentors, in the face of coaches, because I didn't grow up with a father in the home. So that was awesome. And I just really enjoyed taking out all of my aggression or putting all of my hard work into something, and seeing results, instant results. You work out, you plan, and then you play and you win, and you get congratulated, and you get uplifted, and people saw me. I felt seen for some of the first times. I wasn't just the Black kid from the single parent home. I was a football player, and then I turned into a football star. And that made me feel loved and, like I said, just seen and known.
I love the way you say it gave you an opportunity to take out all your aggression. And those poor quarterbacks, as a defensive end, taking out your aggression on sacking all the quarterbacks must have been fun at that age. But when did you realize that you were bisexual? Did that happen whilst you were playing in a team? And you said the family feeling, surrounded by all these guys, playing together, working out together, achieving together.
Yeah. That I didn't start even questioning my sexuality until college. I think also one of the amazing and unique challenges of being bisexual is that a lot of the time when we grow up in these heteronormative spaces and we are attracted to the opposite sex and do have these relationships and feel love and all of the things that come with it. And then you realize that there's another attraction to the same sex or a non-binary person or whatever it might be. Then questions come into play. And at the time, growing up in conservative Texas, and then getting to college, going to Purdue University away from home, I did not have a lot of knowledge of the LGBTQ plus community. I did not really even know bisexuality was like a thing. I literally thought for a little bit, I was like, maybe I'm turning gay. Like I had literally no foundation to stand upon. And like I've said, and like you brought up, the family unit in football was so important to me. And I saw queerness or bisexuality as something that would sever me from this family. That I had worked really hard to belong to and really hard to be a part of and be in these locker rooms and form these friendships. And I felt like it was all at risk. Also, when I was kind of finding that I had, that I was bisexual and I had different attractions to different people, I was at the same time finding out that the NFL was going to become a very real thing for me. My coaches were talking about NFL scouts and teams and what I want to present to owners and GMs, as it goes through my grade, everything was kind of then preparing me for the NFL. And what I knew at the NFL at the time was that there was no out players. There was no queer players. There was no gay players, bisexual players, anything. So it was a very definitely a very turbulent time for me.
Did you feel at the time that that was, if you were to come out at the time, that that would have scuppered any dreams that you had of playing in the NFL?
Oh yeah, coming out was not an option. Like it didn't. I never weighed pros and cons. I never, fantasized a life being out and playing football. And if I did ever have a thought of what it would be to be like an out person, football automatically was erased from the equation. It never crossed my mind that those two things could coexist in any form or fashion. And I remember my last year of college, I believe it was my last year, Michael Sam got drafted to the NFL, to the seventh round to the St. Louis Rams. And I saw him kiss his boyfriend on TV once the announcement was made. And I remember just feeling terrified for him. I remember just feeling, it wasn't a great moment where it was like, oh my God, this could happen for me. This could be me. It was a moment where I was like, what is he thinking? What's going to happen? Like it was scary. Being the first of anything, I feel like can be extremely terrifying. But yeah, in my mind, those two worlds never coexisted.
And what was scarier for you? Was it the reaction of your teammates, or was it this incredible sort of media and press circus that surrounds the NFL? You mentioned the GMs, the general managers. All these teams are huge, huge brands, and they're very, very particular about their imaging. Was it that was going to be the problem, or was it for you more the people you were sharing your dressing rooms, the people you were working and training and winning together?
Honestly, the first thing that came to my mind, the first thought that made coming out and trying to be an out professional player scary was the thought of losing football.
Right.
You dedicate so many years and so many hours and so much of your body and your mind and your time. Your life literally becomes the game. We call it a game, but really it is an all-encompassing thing. You eat football, you sleep football. Everything that I do, I measure it on whether this is going to make me a better player or not. And sadly, I put sexuality into that category. Will this make me a better player? And at the time, I didn't think it would. And I thought it would risk me playing the game that I loved very much. So that was my first fear of ever trying to come out or being out. Secondly, definitely the relationships meant a lot to me, especially in college and coming from, like I said, the single parent home and not having a lot of family around all the time, except teammates. I very much valued not necessarily even what they thought of me, but valued our time together and what we were doing. And it felt almost like a disservice. It felt selfish to come out and to maybe, whether it be bring media distraction or whether it be alienate myself from the team or whether it be to harm the team in any way, to do anything for the team that wasn't winning, that wasn't playing at a high level, that wasn't succeeding, felt selfish and it felt wrong. And I feared that. I feared being a bad teammate, literally just for being who I was. And like I said, saying all that back now sounds crazy, but these were very vivid fears at the time.
Now, you made the NFL and you've played for the Dallas Cowboys, you played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you were drafted at the Bills as well. And in August 2019, you wrote an essay for ESPN and you came out publicly as being bisexual. Now, there have been other openly gay and bi players in the NFL's 101-year history, but none that have actually played in the game after coming out as openly gay. They would come out after their careers were over. But in that article, you talked about you had two goals in life: living your life openly and returning to the NFL. You're available now. You're ready for teams to make offers. Do you think that dream is going to come true? Do you think the NFL is ready to draft, to employ an openly bisexual player?
I do. And I do for many different reasons. One, I have had conversations with NFL front office people and coaches and GMs and everyone. There's a lot of positive and inclusive talks happening in the NFL right now. I've been a part of Pride initiatives started by the NFL, and I feel very involved in the growth of the league outside of just playing. But also that gives me hope of returning. I had an injury a pretty significant injury in 20, was it 17, 18? I don't even remember. When I was with the Buccaneers, and that is no longer an issue. I feel as though I'm in the best shape of my life and mentally so clear after telling my truth and sharing my truth that there's no doubt in my mind that my best football is ahead of me. Also, if we look at the NFL and the stories that the NFL prides itself on, like anything else, football is entertainment, and you see guys coming back after stints of being away for whatever reasons, whether it be to take care of their mental health or whether it be to take care of their family. Alden Smith right now is an example that I can think of, who plays the same position as me, an outside edge rusher, who was away from the game for, I think, 3-4 years to work on his mental health. And has returned back with the Dallas Cowboys, and all types of these stories, so it's possible. It's definitely possible. And I feel like it's in my future, and I'm doing everything that I can on my half to not only return, but when I do return, to be able to help a team win a championship, because that's the ultimate goal.
You talked a lot about what you called bi erasure in culture and the media. Can you tell us a little bit about what you mean about bi erasure?
Of course, yeah. And to me, bi erasure is when us as bisexual people are overlooked, when us as bisexual people are kind of clumped in with other groups, which is we are all a part. Everyone in the LGBTQ community is a part of the community, but the thing that makes this community so beautiful and so colorful and so diverse is that we do have a lot of different variations and differences, and we love different and look different, and that's the beauty, that people can create a community and support each other and be so vastly different. That is to me, that is kind of like the antithesis of what we want the world to be, us all embracing each other and all of our differences and uplifting it. So anytime where there's a headline article that calls me a gay NFL player, anytime where there's a talk about gay and bi and lesbian players, but we're not talking, or athletes, and we're not talking about like trans athletes or those things, that's when the erasure happens. And I feel like people are kind of like, well, we're, our heart's in the right place. I'm like, yeah, but it's very important that, that's everyone in the community feels seen, because like how I was years ago, young boys, girls, and people need to know bisexuality is valid. Bisexuality is a valid identity. I did not know bisexuality existed. And I do not want the next player coming up who is bisexual to not know either. So I feel very important about that. At first, especially when people are congratulating you, you kind of feel shy about like correcting them. But now, like, yeah, if someone calls me gay, I'm like, I'm not gay, I'm bisexual. And it's very important for other bisexual people to hear that and know that and have that moment.
Well, you've talked about tackling homophobia, and you've also said that is a battle that can be won. So do you think that there is homophobia in the NFL?
I think there's homophobia anywhere, especially if we're talking here in the States. Homophobia very much exists. Pretty much homophobia exists in our own queer community, let's be honest. So to say that it does not exist at all in the NFL, to me, would seem slightly ignorant. So there are, some people no longer like the term microaggressions, but there are microaggressions, there are homophobic slurs, and there are things in sports culture, not just in the NFL, but that we teach our kids as they enter sports, that I feel like is very problematic. You throw like a girl, kind of all these very misogynistic things, and using straight up slurs like the F word and things of that nature. That doesn't just start when you get to NFL. You don't play this kind of squeaky clean game all your life and then get to the biggest stage, and then it's just this completely different culture. No, this is something that we're teaching our kids, that even parents are maybe yelling at a screen while their kids are around, very derogatory things about players and about the game. So it's naive. Let me use that word. It's naive to think that there's no homophobia in the NFL when homophobia is so very blatantly in sports culture, and especially in football, in male athletics.
Now, I'm always fascinated by people in sports who decide to make a statement about what they believe is right. And we saw this in the NFL. Colin Kaepernick, quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, started taking the knee a few years back. And it didn't really end well for Colin Kaepernick in his career in the NFL. Do you worry that you might be seen as someone who actually, by coming out, you are making more of a political statement, a statement that needs to be made, but as you discussed earlier, that the NFL, the general managers, the big teams, the big franchises are going to worry that this might be distracting from your playing career?
If we're just talking about coming out, if we're talking about a young person coming out and loving themselves and accepting themselves and feeling so much pride in themselves that they need to really share that with the world, that is a beautiful thing. And there are a lot of people who come out every day and who don't get maybe the praise that I get, who didn't get the platform that I got, who didn't get the moment that I got, who all they got is losing their job. All they received is being kicked out from their homes or being attacked on a day-to-day basis. And that is what I'm focused on. I'm focused on coming out and living my best life and loving myself fully. And yeah, I think football should be a part of that because that's what I'm meant to do. But also it should never be the weighing game. That's why coming out is so hard, because so many times we're taught to weigh the pros and cons of loving ourselves, and there should be no cons to loving yourself. Sorry, I didn't mean to get emotional, but regardless of what happens from here on out, I love me and I feel good about me. And that will only lead to positive things in my future. I believe that's returning to the NFL, but wherever life takes me now, I will go there proudly, and I will go there loudly being me and loving who I am.
Now, Russ, I've got to ask you a little bit about football. Your former team, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, won the Super Bowl this year.
Yes.
A tremendous game. Wiping out the Kansas City Chiefs in the way that they did was completely unexpected. How do you view Tom Brady as the quarterback of Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Did you ever play against him when he was a Patriot? And did you get close? Did you sack him ever?
Oh my God, no, I hit him twice. I literally, actually, it's funny that we're talking about this. I played the Patriots when I was with Tampa Bay, Thursday night football. And that's the game I got hurt on. It's Tom Brady's fault I got hurt.
All right, well, let him know. So Ross, finishing up our conversation, when do you get to find out if you are indeed going to be the first openly bi player to actually play?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a waiting game. Their teams are trimming rosters down, restructuring contracts. Just last week, they were able to sign franchise tag players. Me and my agent are in communication. And then you kind of have this brief period. Then you have camp coming up. Then you have OTAs. Then you have preseason. Then in the season, if someone gets hurt. So honestly, as long as I am young, healthy, and willing to put in the work, an opportunity can present itself. So until I make that announcement of, hey, I want to go to the next chapter of my life, football is on the table for me. I would love to head into camp on a new roster and have that whole time to, learn the playbook and get acclimated and be in position to best help a team win. So I guess the answer to that question is literally any moment right now.
Wait and see.
My only desire is to play football. I don't care where. I don't care for who. Okay. I just want to play football.
All right. Well, I hope the Rams and the Chargers are listening in. Russ, thank you so much for giving me your time. I really, really enjoyed talking with you. I think it's really important what you've done. And I think actually what you said, it's just the visibility of having someone like yourself to play in the NFL would be a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you as well.